live workshop all about voice AI agents. I'm super excited for today's session. We've got a very special guest, and it's going to be an action-packed 60 minutes. But before we get into it, just want to give a quick introduction into who we are for those that don't know us yet. So my name is Jan. I'm one of the co-founders of 9x. And at 9x, you can find us at go9x.com. We're building your one-stop shop to learn AI and automation. And the reason we're doing this is we really believe that AI and automation are the most important skills that you can learn right now as a business professional. It's not something that's just for the engineers to have fun with. And it's our mission to bring you these skills on a silver platter. And we do this in a few different ways. First of all, through our YouTube channel. So every week we're posting live tutorials, the latest AI news and demos. As always with YouTube, like and subscribe. So I think Kat from the 9x team is dropping in our channel link. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to make learning AI and automation easier. On top of that, as you probably know, we're running these weekly 9x live sessions every week, like the one you're all in right now. Next week, it'll be mine and Alex's turn to run the show, and we're going to cover how to find AI use cases for your business. So Alex has actually created a very cool 15 building block framework on different, I guess, techniques you need to know to actually find and build AI use cases. So be sure to join next week's session. And then finally, through our courses. So we've structured these to really take you from beginner all the way to advanced, from our free intro course, the AI Starter. Then we've got the AI Operator, which is really about using AI as your co-pilot, using chat tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and the best prompting techniques, all the way up to our AI Builder, which is probably interesting for some of you since you're joining a session on building voice agents. So this is where you can really learn to automate with AI and building powerful AI-powered automations and agents. Now, I know some of you might be tempted to say, this looks amazing. I want to buy this course right now. I'm going to do something that will probably piss off my co-founders a little bit. Today would be the absolute worst day for you to buy this course. You should not buy this course today. And that's because next week on Black Friday, for 24 hours only, we have a very special promotion going on, which we actually haven't revealed yet. So we're only revealing that to you all. So don't even check out the course today. Just wait till next Friday and then go and take a look. So with that shameless plug out the way, let me now hand over to our very special guest, Jacob. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Jan. It's great to be here again.
Yeah, it's always awesome to have you on. I think the last session we did together was our first really big workshop that we did, in terms of it took us from like this amount of people to a larger amount of people joining. We have figured some things out since then, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see your YouTube channel in particular growing. I'm learning a lot from it.
Amazing.
What I wanted to share today is it's going to be a busy session because I want to do two things. First is I want to show everyone how to build a voice agent using 11 Labs. And I'll talk a little bit more about which use cases I think are appropriate for voice agents and how to configure them. Then I'm going to show you how to take the result of that voice agent and kick off an AI workflow with it that does some of the usual, the powerful back office work that often follows a meeting. And so the use case we're going to do today is a use case that I'm actually working on for myself right now, which is discovery calls for our company. Many people reach out with interest in using Related App, which is an AI workflow and agent building tool. And the first step, much like you guys at 9x know very well, is to take people through a guided discovery experience where we learn about what is their role, what is their business, what kind of tools do they use, what are the areas of their business they're focused on bringing AI into, what are some of the specific use cases that they want to work on. And then the output of that call is a project proposal or a draft of a project proposal, which is
Yeah.
typically like a 3-page document that says, okay, you're an educational agency focused on teaching people AI. You probably want to automate some things about your marketing and your course administration and your back office finance. And within marketing, you might want to focus on webinar production and follow up and video content research, et cetera, et cetera. That would be the output that this process produces. And I think this is such a great use case for voice agents, because one of the big risks that we have with voice agents is we're very afraid that an AI speaking on our company's behalf will misrepresent something or hallucinate or not know the answer to a question and look silly. And so when people are getting started with voice agents, I always recommend starting with information gathering use cases. Information gathering use cases rather than information providing use cases. Because information gathering is a much easier interview task. All I have to do is keep asking Jan reasonable follow-up questions. Like, how many people work at your company and what kind of use cases are you interested? I don't have to actually answer like what model should I use for XYZ. And so some examples of information gathering use cases include discovery calls with a potential client. It could include user research with existing customers of your tool. It could include like course survey follow-up from your students. Anywhere where you think, I want to send people a form or a survey, but I want to have a much deeper understanding of what's going on in their minds than could be captured in, 6 free text answers. That's a very good candidate for a voice agent. Jan, anything else you want to add there before I just dive in and start building?
No, absolutely. I think that's absolutely perfect. And I think what's interesting about it is it's come like voice agents themselves isn't something new, but it's now thanks to AI. These have just gotten so much better. Everyone remembers like in the 2000s when you're trying to call this call center and these automated call centers started coming out, you had to repeat the same word 100 times. They're like, did you say Fox? It's like, no, I didn't. And so that's,
Representative, representative,
yeah,
representative.
exactly.
And yeah, I think for this session, let's dodge the definition of agent and everything
Yeah,
that people are calling agents. What I'm talking about here is a voice conversation partner that can
absolutely.
naturally interact with you in live over the phone conversation. And then the workflow that follows it will take the end result of that conversation and turn it into a project proposal. So with that, let me just dive right in and show you how to do it.
Yeah, and I guess as always, Jacob, you've tried to make a hard challenge for yourself, building two things in one session. So for everyone out there, probably I would say the best thing is to just sort of sit back, really try and follow along with what you're building, right? And probably don't try and build it
Yeah, this
live.
one, unfortunately, there's so much content. This is not going to be a build with me. I'm going to go a little too fast. Just watch what I'm doing. I'll try to highlight all of the key areas where you may get stuck, and then you'll be able to watch the recording later if you want to follow along and replicate the experience.
Exactly. The recording will be in everyone's email inbox tomorrow. So you'll exactly then in your own time go. All right, let's go,
Yeah.
Jacob. Let's do it.
So first, I'm going to show you the end state, which is what I built yesterday in preparation for this session. Then I'm going to show you how to recreate that end state from scratch. So first, we're here in 11 Labs, and 11 Labs is an AI voice platform that includes a bunch of different capabilities. They have text-to-speech models, they have speech-to-text models. You can use them for generating static audio, like voiceovers for YouTube videos is really popular. And they also have a specific platform for building agents. And these are these interactive conversational AI experiences. And so when you configure an agent, you'll be presented with a somewhat intimidating set of options at the top. You'll have your basic agent configuration, you'll have workflows, you'll have knowledge bases, you'll have analysis, you'll have a bunch of MCP tools that can call, you'll have a testing experience, you'll have a widget you can publish, you'll have security features. And I'm going to show you in this call the two of those 8 things that actually matter when you're setting up your first agent. So on the agent screen, you're going to create a prompt, and I'll tell you about some of the mechanics of what you want to put in this prompt. And this is what's going to guide the AI agent's behavior. And then you're going to write the first message. That's all you need. The prompt and the first message. Then, because we're going to take the output of our agent and pipe it to a subsequent workflow, you're going to need to go counterintuitively into the security tab. I would have expected this in the tools tab, but it's actually in the security tab. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the security tab, you'll see there's this option called post call webhook. And webhook is a bit of a technical term. Don't worry about the word webhook. What it means is after the call, you're going to send the bundle of information that was gathered in this call to somewhere else. And then you're going to specify what catches that information and does something with it. So that's the setup in 11 Labs. And I'll show you, it's very simple. We're only going to need to work in this agent tab and then very briefly in this security tab. Then over in relay.app, this is the new canvas I'm going to use for creating from scratch. But let me show you first what I built yesterday, because this is the end state of what we're going to get to. Once we've built the voice agent that's going to have the back and forth conversation, it's going to send the post-call transcript into this workflow in relay.app. If you've used Relay or Zapier or Make or N8N, this kind of workflow structure will be familiar to you, where it's a set of steps that are executed in sequence. Some of them are AI steps where you're asking AI to do intelligent things like classify a transcript or write content. And some of them are mechanical automations, like writing something to a Google Doc or sending a Slack message. So here's what we're going to do after the transcript is received. We're going to first use AI to just double check that this was a legitimate discovery call so that we don't create a bunch of spam proposals for calls that are not discovery calls. Then we're going to use AI to write a complete proposal based on this discovery call. We're going to turn that into a Google Doc and send it out over Slack. So it's only a simple 6-step workflow, but it's incredibly powerful, and I'll show you the results once we get this working. So that's the end state. You're going to end up with a voice agent in 11 Labs that does the discovery call. Then it's going to send a post-call webhook over to relay.app or your automation tool of choice. That's going to then turn that using AI into a detailed proposal that actually lives in a Google document and is sent to you in Slack. So now let me show you how to start from scratch and build your own. Now that we kind of know where we're going. So unsurprisingly, to create a new agent, I'm going to press the New Agent button. If you already have an agent in 11 Labs, the New Agent button will appear in the top left here. If you don't have an agent yet, they're going to take you through a little bit of an onboarding experience. You can also press the plus button next to agents on the left here, and that's going to pull up the same thing. Now, when you're creating a new agent, they're going to ask you, do you want to use one of our default templates like a personal assistant or a business agent, or do you want to start with a blank agent and customize it entirely from scratch? In this case, I'm going to start with a blank agent because I really want to tune this to my needs. And I'm going to call this agent 9x demo discovery calls for relay.app. You can then decide, I don't know why you would use 11 Labs for this, but you could make your voice agent only happen via chat. I would say that if you're making a chat-only agent, you should use a different tool like a custom GPT or something like that, because I think the whole magic of 11 Labs is the voice interaction. But note that this is an option on the platform. But for me, I want to make sure to keep audio on as an option, and then I'm going to click Create Agent.
And Jacob, just for everyone to get an understanding of this, with these voice agents, is there anything like special that's going on with AI reading the audio, or is it really as simple as like the audio gets transcribed into text with technology that already existed and that's getting fed into a traditional LLM, or is there...
Exactly. And I'm so glad you asked that right now because it's when you break it down, it's incredibly simple. There's a voice model that does the speech to text of the when it's listening and then text to speech when it's speaking. And then there's a standard LLM behind the scenes that is driving the actual intelligence of the conversation. And you can configure both of those in this core agent UI. You can tell 11 Labs what voice you want to use and then what voice model to use. I pretty much always just use the defaults, and I've had good experience with those. But if as you get advanced, you might find yourself wanting to tweak some of the settings here. So this is deciding which 11 Labs voice model and voice is going to be used for both the listening and the speaking. And then, sorry, this Zoom window is getting in my way a little bit. And then just below it, you decide which underlying large language model.
Gotcha.
And for me in voice agents, I always choose faster models over smarter models. Because what I find, especially for the voice agent use cases that I've been working on, they don't actually have to be that smart. Gemini 2.5 Flash is plenty good. But if the voice agent is taking 5 seconds to ask a follow-up question or respond, it feels like a really clunky conversation. So I default to speed, speed
Yeah.
over quality in this case. That's the opposite of what I usually say, by the way. But in this case, for voice agents, latency is key. It has to feel fast and interactive. Otherwise, it's not going to be a natural interaction. But again, you can switch. 11 Labs has basically every LLM you could expect built in. They tell you what the cost is, and then some trade-offs about the like latency versus quality. For me, I leave the defaults in these cases, but this is where you would change either the voice model or the underlying large language model.
Super clear.
Anything else I should cover before I go into the configuration?
No, I think it's like a couple of questions on if there's a free version of 11 Labs. Do you know that? Or it's like it's something that you do need to use paid straight away?
There is a free version. I think you can actually get quite far on the free tier. I think you can do everything I'm doing here for the free tier. I'm on the lowest paid tier, which I think is like $22 a month, and that covers quite a lot of calls in a given month. And so it's extremely reasonably priced for what it is.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Let's
Okay,
do it.
so in the agent configuration screen, like I showed before in the fully filled out version, you need to configure two things: the system prompt that the agent is going to use to drive the conversation, and then a first message, which is what it's going to say when it picks up the phone. Hello, I'm 9X. Can I help you today? Um, and there's actually a pretty cool experience where they guide you through. It turns out for system prompting a voice agent, there are some pretty specific categories you want to include, like tone and guardrails, etc. And so this is an example where I did find meta prompting to be quite valuable. By meta prompting, I mean they have this assistive experience in the product where you write in a very simple thing like discovery call for automation tool. And then they're going to turn that into a much more robust system prompt that includes all of the categories that are important for a voice agent. There's personality. Let me make this a little bigger. Can everyone see this a little bigger now? There's
Yeah, that's great.
personality, there's environment, there's tone, there's the goal, and then there's the guardrails. I actually yesterday went through and did a bit of iteration on top of that, so I'm going to copy and paste over my prompt. If anyone wants to see my exact prompt, you're welcome to use it. Note that my prompt is quite specific to me and my use case, so I would probably recommend just using the 11 Labs meta prompter and then iterating on your own as you interact with your voice agent. Okay, so now I've put in the system prompt, which has the personality, it has the environment, it has the tone, it has the goal, it has a bit more detail in how the voice agent should achieve that goal. I say, first understand their role, then identify their existing tools, then identify potential use cases, then come up with sort of the next steps that make sense. And then it has some important guardrails. Like, don't pressure the prospect into deciding anything, don't misrepresent capabilities, don't share confidential information. If you don't know the answer, don't make something up. It's just like say you'll find out later, etc. And then I also created a first message that I thought was appropriate for my use case, which is I pretty much always start discovery calls with, can you tell me a bit about your role and company? Almost every discovery call in a work context starts with that. Okay, so now I've configured the core meat of my agent, and I can already go through and do a test conversation. Now, I hope the audio will work for this. Let me try it and see if it works with Zoom.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Can
Yep,
everyone hear
sounds
that?
good. Yeah, and maybe a little bit louder if you can, but it's we can hear it.
Okay, let me crank up the volume. And let me just check once again that it's using the right system prompt. Oh, did I save these changes? Oh, I have to save the changes. The Zoom window is covering the save bar. Okay, now let me do a quick preview conversation.
Hi, can you tell me a bit about your role in company?
My name is Jacob. I'm the founder of Relay.app. We're a 10-person company and we build a SaaS tool for small and medium businesses.
Thanks, Jacob. What does Relay.app do for small and medium businesses?
We help them automate their workflows with AI.
That's interesting. So you help other businesses with AI automation. What are some of the tools your company uses internally?
We use the Google Suite, Gmail, Docs, Sheets. We use Slack for internal communication. We use LinkedIn a lot for marketing and prospecting. We use Airtable as our main CRM. We use Loops for our mailing list and a few other things, but those are the main ones.
That's a great overview. How integrated are these tools in your current workflows?
Pretty deeply integrated. We do everything in them.
Understood. And if you could have an AI agent help with competitive research, what would you have them do?
I would have them monitor social media to see what people are saying about their products. I'd have them monitor pricing and website changes. I'd have them look at their marketing materials to see if there are any particular use cases that they highlight.
That's a clear vision. What other areas of your business do you think could benefit from AI agents?
I'm gonna end the conversation now, but you get the idea. Let me end the call.
That's absolutely nuts. That's really, really cool. Maybe one thing
And
just
yeah.
quickly of like how obviously we went through the prompt there quite quickly. A few people have asked. I think let's definitely share that prompt afterwards. What's very important in the prompt is that's where you're really steering the conversation. I remember very early on, we were working with a company that was also in like a service business and set up one of these voice agents. And there was like 6 things that the voice agent needed to get. And it started the conversation. It just said hello, and it just rattled off the 6 questions. And then
Exactly.
yeah,
And already there, I noticed a couple things I wasn't happy with. So this is the process I went through. There were a couple things that I found awkward about the conversation. How integrated are your tools into your workflows? Like, that's a dumb question. There are no dumb questions, but like that's a dumb question. And so I need to figure out like where in this, oh, okay, understand how their tools are integrated into their workflows. Like, don't need that. Don't need that. So cut that out of the prompt. And then this is kind of a funny one where I wanted to give it an example of how to think about where an AI agent could be useful. And so one of the questions I found useful is imagine you could hire a person to help with task X. And you can see that it literally asked this question. If you could hire someone to help with competitive research. So I think I want to, if you could hire someone to help with job function. And then hopefully the AI will be smart enough to say, like, if you could hire someone to help with marketing, what would you have them do? If you could hire someone to help with sales, what would you have them do? So this is the process I go through. And so I don't think it's worth spending a ton of time pre-designing your prompt from scratch and from first principles. Just have a dozen conversations with the agent, and then you'll immediately see like where you want to tweak the prompt to make it better.
super clear.
So yeah, I'll definitely share the prompt that I've created, but most important will be the process of iteration and testing it out to make it better. Okay, so that's part one. That's the voice agent. Already pretty amazing, right? Now what we're gonna do is build part two, which is the workflow that is gonna capture the result of that conversation and do something with it. And so for that, I'm gonna go over to relay.app. I've created a new workflow for this. Oh, sorry. I've created a new workflow for this. Now, if you're new to building AI workflows or traditional automations, every workflow starts with a trigger. The trigger is what wakes up the workflow and tells it to start doing work on our behalf. In most cases, triggers are actions that occur in an app, like a new email came in Gmail, or a new event was scheduled in Calendar, or triggers could be scheduled based on the passage of time, like every week, do a competitive analysis, every day, go look up Jan's Twitter to see if he's posted anything interesting. In this case, we're going to use a slightly more technical construct called a webhook. But don't be scared, because I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up this webhook. And a webhook is simply a technical mechanism by which web applications can send information to one another using a standardized format. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click Add Trigger, and then I'm going to scroll down and select Webhook. And you can see that the most important thing about the webhook is there's a unique URL. The unique URL is like the address to which that package of information after the call is going to be delivered. And so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to need to bring that back over to 11 Labs. Now, what I want to do is there are different products that let you configure the webhook trigger in different ways. Because what I need to do is I need to figure out how to catch that data in the right format so I can use it later. And in relay.app, we have a system that configures automatically. So basically, when the first request is sent to that webhook, we figure out the structure of the package within it. So I'm going to copy, very important, I'm going to copy this URL to my clipboard. I'm going to click configure automatically. You can see now it's waiting for a test request. It's listening for test requests and saying, I'm waiting. What is the format of data that you're going to send me? So now I'm going to go back over to 11 Labs. And again, I'm going to very, very counterintuitively go to the security tab. It took me like an hour to find this because I was kept looking in tools and other places, but it's in security. And you'll scroll down and you see where it says post call webhook. And you can see that they even have a little video here of how to send those things to N8N, but you should totally use Relay, instead. And so you're going to select the webhook to send it to. So I'm going to click select webhook, and then wait. So this is the one I set up yesterday. So if you already have a webhook set up, you can send to an existing one. In this case, I'm going to create a new one from scratch. Yesterday, I didn't have one already created, so I had to create one from scratch. So I'm going to hit create webhook. Luckily, it's only asking me for one thing, which is the URL. And I have that already in my paste buffer because I copied it from Relay.app. and I'm going to call this like 9x demo discovery call follow-up. So you're giving your webhook a name, and then you're entering the URL that is what we just configured in Related App, and I'm going to hit create. So now, and I don't need the webhook secret in this case. In some products, you need to put the webhook secret back into the webhook trigger to make sure that only webhooks from that correct address can use it. In this case, I'm going to copy to clipboard, but I don't need it. Just below the definition of which URL this package is going to send to, you can decide what to include in that packet of information. In my case, I only want the transcript because the transcript captures all the information I need for my post-discovery call use case. You could send the full audio if you want to analyze the voice sentiment or something, or you could send other metadata like the call initiation failures. For me, the transcript is sufficient. Now, if I go back over to relay.app, you can see that relay.app is still patiently waiting, patiently waiting for an incoming request. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have just like a very short sample conversation just to like get some data over in that webhook so that it can figure out the structure. So let me do a very quick call.
Hi, can you tell me a bit about your role in company?
Yeah, I don't need to answer that question because this is just a quick webhook test. Okay, so now that the call is done, what should be happening and what did happen, sorry, it happened really fast here, but you can slow it down in the recording if you watch it later. But the webhook was successfully sent to Related App. So remember that screen where it said, I'm waiting for a test request, I'm waiting, send me a test request. The test request came in at the end of that call. As soon as I hit end call, 11 Labs sent that packet of information over to Related Apps. And you see that Related App has now decoded what was in that package. And there's a bunch of, don't worry about the JSON notation here. If this is a technical concept that you're unfamiliar with, it doesn't really matter. But all you need to know here is that this is the information that is going between 11 Labs and Related Apps. So you can see it's showing us the cost of the call and the LLM usage and a bunch of stuff I don't really care about. What I really do care about is the transcript. So I'm just going to scroll down and there we go. Transcript. Okay, so I have a transcript summary. I've got a summary title. What I really want to scroll down and see is like, do I have the raw transcript? That's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for transcript here. And there we go. There's the transcript. And so you can see the structure of the transcript is a list of messages, which were the utterances of that conversation. So now I'm happy that I'm going to receive the right information from 11 Labs, and now I can build the rest of my AI workflow that does useful stuff with that. So what I recommend is always, when you're catching the result of a voice agent, you always want to have an initial step that makes sure it's not garbage. Because if you're going to be doing a bunch of test calls, or you're going to have a bunch of people hang up, or you're going to have prank callers, or whatever, like there's going to be a bunch of situations where the result of the voice conversation is not actually going to result in a meaningful sales proposal. So I always recommend starting with like a very simple AI classify step that says, is this conversation like relevant to the thing that we're trying to do here? And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a step. And again, if you're new to AI workflows, when you add a new step, you'll see there are several different types of options. You can take an action in an application, like creating a Google Doc or sending a Slack message. We'll do those in a moment. You can take an action like flow control, which is like, if this, do that, or do this many times in a loop. You can take an AI action. That's what we're going to be doing here to classify whether the transcript is relevant. And then there's some other more advanced capabilities like web scraping, etc. But for now, I'm going to click AI. And then within AI, you can see that there are a bunch of different pre-built things you may want to do with AI in the context of a workflow. And in this case, remember, we want to first classify if this conversation is relevant. So I'm going to click AI classify. The first thing it's going to ask me is, what do I want to classify? And indeed, what I want to classify is the information that came via the webhook call. And now I'm going to write a very simple prompt that says, review the transcript of the call and decide whether it is a complete discovery call. That's all. One sentence prompt. Review the transcript, decide whether it's a complete discovery call. Now, and you can see that and then I can be a little more output, yes or no. What I like to do whenever I'm using an AI step within a workflow, I always like to be very explicit about my output, very explicit, because unlike when you're just prompting ChatGPT or any other sort of chatbot, we need to take the result. We need to take the result of this decision and do something with it later. In this case, we need to decide whether to keep going or to stop. And so I always, pretty much always in my prompts, I have a little section here which is like output, yes or no. And you can see here that it's going to give me a single select output. Is the call a discovery call? And so whenever you're using AI steps in workflows, whether it's in Relay or Zapier or Make or N8N or pick your favorite tool, always make sure not just that you've written a good prompt, but that you have the right data access. The AI has access to the right inputs, in this case, the information from the webhook, and then the right outputs, whatever you need to do the subsequent steps in the workflow. Yeah, and anything else you want to mention there or any questions I should cover quickly?
Yeah, just one, because a few people were asking, maybe that's something that you show at the end, but in terms of like deploying this agent, and some people were asking, like, is this 11 Labs voice agent, is that something that you can use both for inbound and outbound, or it's only receiving calls from people?
That's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that. I've only used it for inbound, which
Yeah,
is you have this little copy link. And when you copy the link to the agent, I'll send it out to everyone after the class
yeah,
if they want to play around with it. And that creates a little nice standalone web page for someone to call into. I'm sure it is possible to do this in outbound calls too, that you'd have to hook up with some sort of dialer or telephony product.
yeah,
I don't personally know how to do that. Maybe we can do a follow-up. Maybe I can do some research and we can do a follow-up session in a couple months for
absolutely.
people.
Very cool. Awesome.
Do you happen to know the answer to that?
No, no. Also, what I know for sure is there are solutions. It's just whether 11 Labs positions themselves that way. I would assume so. So I'm already receiving many, many AI voice calls on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
are AI
It's
voice agents a thing? Absolutely.
It's definitely possible. I
Yeah.
don't, you may need a separate telephony and dialer provider to hook it all together. We can do some research and follow up on that.
Yeah, and I think a few people in the chat are mentioning like Twilio, Vappy, they
Yep.
support it. So
Yep.
absolutely you can. And the thing is, the principles are the same. Then one other question going back on the prompt, a few people asking about like having flexible conversation flows. Like if they answer this, then go down this path of investigation. If they answer Y, go down this path. And it seems like 11 Labs also have like a workflow builder inside. Have
It
you played around with that one?
No, I haven't needed it for my use case because my use case is sort of open-ended research questions.
Yeah.
If you want to mimic something that's more like a traditional phone tree, which is like, I'm not saying press one for Spanish or press two for English, but like take people down different paths, what you'll do is you'll go into this workflow tab and then you'll create these sub agents and paths that handle specific subsets of the conversation. And so for each sub agent, you'll give it its own conversation
Yeah.
goal, its own knowledge base, and then the top agent will just be helping the customer or the user, whoever, traverse that tree. Totally possible. I'm told it works really well. I haven't used it myself though, so
Yeah.
I can't teach anyone else to do it.
Yeah, and you can basically do a simplified version of that in the prompt, but you have to see how you how
Exactly. So
complicated you can
what
go.
I would start is like start simple and just put it in the prompt. And if you find that you want to have these much deeper, more robust conversations across many different topics, then you'll probably need sub workflows and sub agents.
Perfect. All right, let's keep cracking on.
Okay, cool. So once we've and I'll name this, I'll say classify whether it's a complete discovery call. Now, if it's not a complete discovery call, I do not want to write a proposal. That would be a waste of everyone's time. So I'm going to use flow control to end this workflow if the answer to that first question was no. And so I'm going to click plus. I'm going to go to the flow control menu. And you see where this option right below path called end run if? I'm going to end run if. And now I need to figure out when do I need to end the run. And to do that, I need to reference the result of the previous step. And there's a very common pattern in workflow building. Step 3 needs to reference whatever happened in step 2. And the way you do that is you hover over the step that you want to reference. In my case, it's 2. You select which result you want to reference, which is this call a complete discovery call? And we're going to end the run if the answer is no. If it's yes, we're going to proceed to write a proposal. So now I'm going to do my more robust and interesting AI step, which is the one that actually writes the proposal. So I'm going to click the plus button again. I'm going to click AI again. And this time I'm going to click write. You see it's telling me, hey, this is what you want to use if you want to draft emails, posts, reports, or blog posts. Yeah, I want to write. In this case, I want to write a proposal, but I want to write my proposal as a Google document. So I'm going to actually, I want to do something a little more fun here. Let me explain what I want to do here. I want a proposal, but I don't want just a proposal. I actually want two things. I want the AI to do two things for me. I want the AI to give me the Google document of the proposal, and I want it to give me a Slack message. So I'm going a little off menu. I'm going a little more advanced here, but I want the AI to do two things for me. I want it to write the Google Doc, and I want it to send me a Slack message. So in this case, I'm going to just show you a different technique here. I'm going to press AI custom prompt. And in my custom prompt, I'm going to say, you are a sales assistant. I'll use my whisper flow to do this a little faster. Given the transcript of a discovery call, we want to follow up with the appropriate next steps. Specifically, please output 1, the rich text of a detailed proposal document that can be written to a Google Doc, and 2, a Slack message summary that can be sent to the team. Come on, Whisperflow. Man, Whisperflow's been bugging out for me the last day. So I guess I'll have to type this old school. I'll just write something very simple. Please, given the transcript of a discovery call, we need to follow up. Please output the rich text of a Google Doc proposal, 2 to 3 pages. The rich text of a summary Slack message. Use emoji. Oops. Use emoji to make it readable. And you can see that as I'm typing, I don't think other products do this in exactly the same way as Related App. So this is a little bit specific to Related App. But what we try to do is, as you're typing your prompt, Related App tries to figure out what is the output you're likely to want. And in this case, because I always write my prompts with this very clear output section, it makes it really easy for the AI to know that I want a Google Doc proposal and a summary Slack message. Now, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. Why is this not going to work? Pop quiz. Pop quiz, Jan. Why is this not going to work?
You want me to answer, or we wait for the chat?
Let's wait for the chat. I know you know, so let's wait for the chat. What have I forgotten to do here?
People frantically typing. No input.
Yes, thank you. No input.
One.
I have not attached the transcript yet. So the AI is going to say, I don't know. I don't know what transcript you're talking about. I don't have it.
Or even worse, they will say, sure, no worries. Let me do that for you.
Even worse, they're going to hallucinate. Exactly. And so make sure to click data from previous steps and bring in the trigger information from step 1, the webhook call.
And maybe, Jacob, this is something also to point out. Like a lot of other apps, like automation platforms, they'll make you actually go and like grab the transcript, whereas you're always grabbing the whole payload. Is that just like best practice, or is there the option to also get more granular?
Yeah. For simplicity, I tend to just grab the whole thing because it makes it way easier. If you want to just grab the transcript, there's this other option called select specific field. And then you can dig into the payload and the data and then get just the transcript. Technically, this is probably a better approach if you only want the transcript. But in my case, there's actually some other useful metadata in there. Like 11 Labs did its own summary. They had some other stuff about it. So in my case, I've had good experience just grabbing the whole thing.
And I think especially for when you're like fast prototyping, just do that. When this comes into like something that's in production and then you're trying to optimize tokens or performance, like then iterate afterwards.
Exactly. For me, it's all about, speed of getting something up and running. And what I've found is I think we and other products in the space have done people a big disservice by making token counts so prominent, like AI credits. And so I get customers emailing me all the time. I was like, this thing used 200 AI credits. How can it use fewer AI credits? 200 AI credits is like 20 cents. Like this stuff is all so ridiculously cheap for how much value it adds that I would put all of your time into making it work really well and not really worry about token costs unless you're doing a million discovery calls a day, at which case you could save thousands of dollars. But if you're a typical business doing several discovery calls a day, $1 a week here and there is not going to be worth your time to optimize a lot. That's just my personal perspective. I think people, because we show people token cost, people naturally want to optimize that number, even though it's rarely the right use of time. And then last but not least, I'm going to switch models. For writing tasks like this, I personally like 0.5. You pick whatever model you like for a given use case. I find Claude Sonnet writes the best proposals and documents. So now I'm going to hit done. And maybe I'll rewrite this step and I'll say write, I'll rename this step write proposal and Slack summary. Okay, last but not least, I actually need to make the Google Doc and I need to make the Slack message. And so I'm going to do those with 2 additional automated steps that take action in my connected apps. So first, I'm going to create the Google Doc. So I'm going to click Apps. I have a bunch of apps connected. So I'm going to go to Google Docs, Create Document. When you create a document, you need to specify a few things. What folder does it go in? So maybe this should go in my sales folder. The title will be, discovery call. And then let's see if I can grab anything from the transcript that would give me a good title for the discovery call. Otherwise, I can ask metadata. Let's see, analysis. Yeah, call summary title. Hey, that's a good reason to get all the information. I can use discovery call summary title. And in the content, I'm going to reference the output of step 4. Again, step 5 is going to use the output of step 4. So I'm going to press the @ key or the data button. Those do the exact same thing. I'm going to hover over step 4 and I'm going to select Google Doc proposal. Then last but not least, I'm going to send myself a Slack message. Slack send message. In a real world use case, I would send this to our sales channel. In my case, because I'm testing right now, I'm just going to send it as a direct message to myself. And again, in the Slack message, I'm going to include the summary that was generated by AI in step 4. And I'm also going to include a link to the doc. And the way I'm going to include the link, not a link to the doc, a link to the doc, I'm going to linkify that with the URL of the document that was created in step 5. So again, in step 6, I'm now using the output of step 5, which is the Google Doc, and specifically I'm grabbing the URL. So now this prompt is super simple. So I don't know if this proposal is going to be great. You'll of course need to iterate on this a bunch yourself, but we have the basic bones of a workflow now that's going to classify whether it's a proper discovery call. It's going to write a proposal to go into Google Doc and a summary to go to Slack. It's going to create that document and send me a Slack message. So now I'm going to turn this on and let's test it end to end. And I'm going to pretend to be Jan and 9X. I don't know everything about your company, but I'll do the best I can. Okay, I'm going to click. Let me just check again that I turned it on. Yep, I turned it on.
Hi, can you tell me a bit about your role and company?
Yeah, I'm Jan. I'm one of the co-founders of 9X, and we provide educational materials and training on how businesses can use AI.
That's interesting, Jan. What's your primary focus at 9X?
I do a lot of content creation, and I also lead workshops myself.
And how large is your team at 9X?
About 10 people.
Okay, and what tools do you currently use for content creation and managing your workshops?
My YouTube channel is doing really well, so creating good YouTube videos is really important to me. I post on LinkedIn a lot. We have an email newsletter that's very active. So yeah, everything in social media and content creation that you'd expect.
That makes sense. Are there any specific areas in your content creation or workshop management where you feel AI agents could offer significant help?
Yeah, I wonder if they could help me prepare for my workshops better by doing some automatic research of the company that I'm working with, so I know which use cases might be relevant.
That's a great idea. So, an agent to research companies for tailored workshop content. What other tasks take up a lot of your time?
Another thing that takes up a lot of my time is coming up with ideas for what to post on our YouTube channel or what to write about on LinkedIn. Maybe an AI agent could help me do some content research and help me figure out what topics are resonant in AI at the moment.
So, a content research agent for trending AI topics. That's a clear need. How about after your workshops or content is published? Are there any follow-up tasks that are time-consuming?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. After the workshop, it can kind of lose momentum quickly if I don't follow up quickly with additional materials and suggestions. So I would love it if an AI agent could look at the result of the workshop and automatically send out personalized next steps for each participant.
That's a very specific and valuable use case. So, a post-workshop follow-up agent for personalized next steps. Are there any other areas where you feel you're spending too much time on repetitive tasks?
That's good for now.
Great. Are you currently evaluating other tools in this space?
Yeah, I'm looking into a bunch of tools, Relay, Lindy, Make, N8N.
And have any of them provided you with pricing quotes yet?
Not yet. I'm still kind of early in the discovery process.
Understood. I'll put together a document summarizing our conversation and propose a roadmap for AI agent adoption at 9x, focusing on the use cases we discussed. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much. Okay, so now I've ended the call. And now I'm going to go over to Related App. And then when I was testing this last night, 11 Labs takes like 20 or 30 seconds to send. Oh, actually, that happened faster than I expected. So you can see that the webhook already came in. We've classified that it was a complete discovery call, which it was. I thought it was a fast but decent discovery call. And now the AI is turning that into a proposal and a Slack summary. Once it's done with this AI step, then it's going to generate in step 5 the document, and in step 6 the Slack message, and I'll show you those. But for now, we wait patiently while Claude Sonnet 4.5 does its work.
Amazing. And maybe while that's running, we've got a really nice question from Chris, who asked that. So Chris has built a custom GPT, actually similar to what you just mentioned. So they got a custom GPT to build workshops, and if they were to copy all the prompts to an agent, is that an okay way to construct such an agent? And also then, what is an advantage of having an agent instead of a custom GPT? What's your thoughts on these?
So two quick comments. First is, if you're talking about the context of bringing the knowledge from your custom GPT into the voice agent so that it's doing the discovery call like that, which I think is not the question, but let me just show you how you would do that. The 11 Labs voice agent configuration UI, in addition to a system prompt, also has a knowledge base that you can add documents to. So whatever you've stuck into your custom GPT in both the system prompt and the knowledge base, you can also stick into the voice agent. Similarly, if you want to use the additional information like example proposals you've created or whatever else you've put in the custom GPT, you can use the Related App knowledge feature for that. So what I recommend is, because you're going to be using a bunch of different AI tools that are going to require this knowledge and context about your business and the stuff that you've built in the custom GPT, what I recommend is that you have a Google Doc repository of all of your pieces of relevant knowledge, and then you can use them in custom GPTs for one-off text-based interactions. You can use them in your voice agent. You can use them in a tool like Related App for ongoing workflows. Whether you want to use an automated workflow for this or whether you want to manually paste the transcript over to your custom GPT, that's totally a question to you. If you do one discovery call every 6 months, probably this workflow is overkill. Probably you just go to custom GPT once every 6 months. If you're doing 5 discovery calls a day, probably having the AI workflow run automatically will be helpful. So that's where you have to make the choice.
Yeah, and I think if I can add to that, actually, like, it is something we're seeing also with companies, that the custom GPT, it's one of the best ways to actually learn how you would build some of these systems. And what's great with it is, with the custom GPT, the testing is frictionless, right? So you set up your custom GPT, and all you should be testing there is, given the input that I give it, can I get good results? And there, for sure, you give it manually, give it manually, give it manually. Once you're happy with the results, that's where you can automate it. And then when you asked on what are the advantages of then moving away from a custom GPT, I think that really goes to then interacting with the rest of your stack. Because what Jacob's got here now is, based on a transcript, it generates a proposal. That is something that can be reused. Right now, it's like a voice agent's taking it, but maybe for some enterprise clients, Jacob's going to have the call with them directly. It's the same thing, right?
So once I've created this call follow-up workflow, I can use it for both the agent calls that 11 Labs does, but I also do my personal calls that get transcripted in Fireflies. And then I similarly want to create a proposal off of those. And so what it really, I really like the way you framed that, which is custom GPTs are often the lowest friction way to start testing out whether you can get the basic mechanics right. But then as soon as you want the Google Docs to be automatically created, as soon as you want the Firefly's transcripts to be automatically pulled in, the advantage of an integrated workflow tool is often becomes worth the effort at that point.
Absolutely. And also then the cost of testing in ChatGPT is also minimal, which is nice.
Yep. So this is actually, it's not a bad document. I gave it a very simple prompt. And so of course, what I would do in practice is I would give it examples of proposals I've created in the past. I'd give it more guidance, but you can see that it wrote an executive summary. It's identified some use cases and solutions, some proposed impact, an idea of the technical approach. And then it's created a little implementation roadmap, which I kind of like the foundations, the pilot, the full deployment. And again, this will get way better as I give it more knowledge of my actual proposals. And I can also see that it wrote a pretty nice summary Slack message. Discovery call with Jan, team 10 people, call status success, company overview, 3 use cases identified, some competition that they're considering, and then next actions. I mean, I'm from spending 1 minute writing a 1 sentence prompt. This is like amazingly good from my perspective, and it's only going to get better as you give it more examples of what good looks like and more guidance. So, with that, we've got 5 minutes left, and I think we succeeded. We built the voice agent. We built the follow-up AI workflow.
Amazing. First of all, let me give a little reaction here. Yeah, there we go. We need some that was awesome. Amazing. We do have a bunch of questions in the chat, so I think let's just fire through those for the last minute. So first of all, really nice question here from Candace was, does Relay offer recommendations for other tools that are needed for the workflow to work properly? Like, hey, you'll need to add a data source for this step, such as Airtable and things like that. So really for beginners that also don't have maybe a best sense of the ecosystem of what tools they should be using.
So Relay, the product experience, won't recommend additional tools. In general, the product experience assumes that you've already got your Airtable, you've already got your tool set up, and we're going to hook into them. If you need personal recommendations, email Jan, email me, and we'd be happy to point you to like the right tool for the job.
Yeah, perfect. And then Carolina asked, which is really a great follow-up question in terms of the iterative process of building this out. So how would you build an agent that should learn from the additions of the proposals that you have done yourself?
Yeah, so the way that I do it, and I love this question because curating the context and the knowledge of the agent is so important. What I do is I maintain a knowledge base of the 3 or 4 best proposals I've created that it can learn from. And so I don't need to ever explicitly say, "Hey agent, you should get better at doing XYZ." I just say, "Make your work look like these examples." And then as the examples get better and as I refine them, then the AI agent naturally gets better. And so what I found is it's the same as how people improved search engines back in the day. You just watch what people click on and the search engine naturally gets better. In my case, the AI agent watches what I naturally do to take its document from beginning to end, and then it learns in the future of how to get me to the end state faster.
Perfect. And then a question that just came in from Aiden, given that there's a bunch of companies that provide call agent customization, they've listed a few there. So why use 11 Labs over the other ones?
I need to defer to Jan on that one. I have not done a detailed competitive analysis of how all these voice agent compares. I've only tried really 11 Labs and had a good experience with it, but maybe Jan, you can do that in a tool breakdown in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that that's exactly the point, right? What we're seeing right now is obviously this is a massive space and there's going to be always more than one tool in one area. What I really like right now is the friction of testing them is very, very low. And like you said, if you jump in and you have a good time, then like stick with it. And also
that's what I would say. Don't waste time doing a ton of desk research.
Yeah.
Just jump into one, and if you like it, stick with it.
Yeah. And then you also learn by that one, like what you don't like from it, and you'll see that another one has that feature. It helps you in that quest, I guess. One thing maybe with the 3 minutes left, a few people had the questions. Could you just walk through, Jacob, that workflow one more time and explain the different steps? Because a few people were confused in the step that first we asked Anthropic to do something, and this was really the AI step. And then because they were saying, are 4, 5, and 6 the same thing? Is like 4 is where the AI is happening, and 5 and 6 are the distribution of that AI result, right?
Exactly. And that's a little different from how other tools like Lindy might represent it. So let me tell you why this is the way it is. And so in Relay.app, we generally recommend that you separate AI making decision or producing work from that work actually flowing into your tools. The reason for that is it gives you complete control over, for example, I know that I want exactly one Slack message sent to exactly this direct message, and I also want to include to the link to the doc. As an alternative, I could have gone into step 4 and I could have given it a Slack message sending tool. And I could have just sent in the prompt, send the Slack message when you're done. And as you get more advanced, you'll feel more and more comfortable condensing your workflow into fewer steps and having the AI directly take the actions in Google Docs and Slack. My preference, especially for beginners, but even for advanced users, is I've gotten way better results with just the explicitness of ask the AI to write the text and then have an explicit automation to write it into the document. And so that's why you can see that I've separated 4, 5, and 6 here into separate steps. Write the stuff, then create exactly one document and send exactly one Slack message.
Perfect. And then I think this is a great question to end on. And actually, I would love to get your take on it, Jacob. There was obviously some big news yesterday with Gemini 3 coming out. And how do you see models like Gemini 3 and it's made AI Studio even more impressive? We're seeing videos of video games being generated like that. What do you think? How is that going to disrupt the way we are developing AI agents currently?
So I haven't yet seen a situation in which Gemini 3 so far outperforms GPT 5.1 or Claude 4.5 that it totally changes the paradigm. What I do think is happening, and I didn't show that at all in this call, is there's two ways you can build an AI workflow today. You can directly construct it in the flowchart like I was doing, where you create each step individually and then you click through kind of point and click, drag and drop, or drop down UIs. Or you can create via natural language. So let's say, for example, is move the doc to my drive. You could ask the natural language assistant in text what you want, and then it will try to interpret that into workflow language. You can see here it says, you want to move the document created in your step 5 into your personal Google Drive instead of the sales folder. To do that, you need to select your preferred. Can you please select the first, just the root, my drive. And so now you can see that it's editing step 5 to appropriately change the target folder to my drive. And so I think that over time, as models improve, we will see natural language creation of workflows get better and better. But I still think it will not be a substitute for the structured thinking that goes into what needs to happen. So I would say Gemini 3 is awesome, but I have not seen it be a paradigm changer in anything that we're doing.
Yeah, and I also would add on to that, obviously, like the AI. So let's say it's going to generate the code. So they'd say, okay, you don't need N8N, you don't need Relay, you don't need Make because Google AI Studio can just build my agent for me. It might give you a version that works the first time, but what all of the Relays, the N8Ns, the Makes are doing is Google changes their API regularly, right? All of these tools that we use change their APIs, change the infrastructure, and you will then, it's not just about getting the first version up and running, but it's also about how do you maintain this workflow. And of course, maybe in the future, there's even AI agents that are going to maintain it. I still think we're a little bit off from that.
Yeah, and I think the general principle here is that if you're using a natural language AI-based experience to generate something for you, your life is going to be a lot better if you still know how to work with the object that it's created. So yeah, use Gamma to create the slide deck, and then you can tweak the slide deck as you want. Use, Relay the Copilot to create the workflow, but you can still, if you want to change the Slack message a little bit, go change it. What I worry about is if it's a total black box of code that you don't understand, it's going to get really hard. Like, okay, let's say I wrote a bad proposal. Where do I go? Where do I go fix it? How do I know what it did? Maybe we'll get there eventually where everything is 100% natural language experience, but here's why I'm skeptical of that. Flowcharts are really valuable. Really, really valuable in so many areas. It's a great way to visualize what's going to happen in a step-by-step process. So I don't think the flowchart's going away anytime soon.
No, absolutely. Jacob, thank you so much. We did it in 60 minutes.
Yeah,
That's,
thanks everyone for
insane.
joining. I hope this was really valuable. I actually have some time. If there's more questions in the chat, we can go over. But I think the recording already will have everything people need to build for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we can we can wrap it up there. Finish on
Okay.
on a high note. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. We'll get you on for another one for sure. And we'll see you soon. And for everyone else, have a good evening. Have a good rest of the day. And hopefully we see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for hosting, Jan. Great to see you all.